Wealth, Adderston said, rubbing his hands. By golly, we're going to be insanely rich. The giant ship was rotating slowly on the view screens. 2 miles in diameter, the gigantic disk looked like a monstrous seed dropped by some ancient titan in a remote corner of the galaxy. The Qatar civilization that had built this ship had disappeared over 1 million years ago, obliterated in war with another ancient race, the Mercurians. Of course, neither the Qatar nor the Mercurians called themselves that. Not much was known about them at all. 1 million years is a very long time for any civilization. Way too long. Random obscure artifacts, remnants of majestic ruins on desert planets, and scraps of ancient legends were all that archaeologists had to work with. The government won't let us pocket an entire ship, Neeson said. No one has ever found an entire Qatar ship, only scattered debris and a few artifacts. The usual rules for dead ship salvage will not be in effect. Adderston brushed his partner off carelessly. So what? We'll get a huge prize anyway. Remember what it was like with the Changsun crew and Elche 194? All they found was a derelict Qatar escape pod. They got a few million credits for each crew member so that Elche 194 could even redeem all his cocoon brothers before euthanasia season started. A predatory smirk played on his lips. But let's find a way into this damn thing, he said. A prize is nice, but no one's stopping us from looking around for some booty. The interior of the Qatar ship was even more striking than the outside. The Mercurians were a non-biological civilization, but it was impossible to determine whether they were rebellious machines or had evolved independently before crossing their paths with the Qatar. The origins of Qatar were even more mysterious. The ancient legends were contradictory, depicting them as humanoid, aquatic, insectoid, or something totally unbelievable. Looking at the strange outlines of the ship's corridors, rooms, and mechanisms, Neeson was ready to agree with anything. The ship looked as if it had been grown, not built, like a houseplant, though the materials were strong enough to carry it through a star's chromosphere, withstand the fierce interstellar battle, or survive 1 million years. Adderston kicked unhappily at a root-like protuberance on the floor of what they called a hangar. A vast cubic-shaped compartment, 300 feet long, with no flying apparatus in it. Actually, there was nothing in it at all, except a thin layer of gray dust. Okay, I can understand stripping the ship of everything of value before abandoning it, Adderston said. But there's no way some drunken mechanic didn't forget a screwdriver. Neeson shrugged. Maybe he did, he said. It's been 1 million years, 1 million years. Could our screwdrivers stand 100,000? Adderston only slurred back. They'd been walking the Qatar ship for 3 hours and found nothing but a labyrinth of corridors that looked like the insides of some gigantic mummified animal. We've got to go back for the tools, Adderston said suddenly. Let's get the laser drill and chop off a piece. Neeson sighed. He'd been expecting something like that. If the authorities find out, and they will, that we dismantled something unauthorized, we'll just go to jail. How much would you get for the Qatar metal on the black market? 100,000? Maybe 2? Versus a few million. Bro, it's not worth it. For a while, the beam of Adderston's helmet light slid across the floor and walls, lingering on dusty ledges. Neeson was silent. He knew his mate well. Adderston was saying goodbye to his desire to snatch an extra penny. All right, he said at last, and Neeson caught a hint of resignation in his voice. We'd better get moving before some other tramp stumbles upon this ancient pile of garbage. It's 3 hyperjumps to the nearest patrol base, Neeson said as he sat in the pilot's chair. Subspace messages can be intercepted, so we'd better hand it in directly to the commander. By the way, the base is run by Hormenchis. And that's good. They can't lie or cheat. Unlike us people. He felt a twinge in his nose and sneezed deafeningly. "Damn this ventilation," he said. "We'll have to check on the filters. You hear that, At?" Instead of an answer, he heard loud sneezing and coughing, then indistinct grumbling. Nissen sighed and stood up. "Hey, bro, what's the—" He froze mid-sentence and quickly ducked. The laser gun's beam passed within an inch of his head, leaving a molten hole in the ceiling paneling. Adderston, his face completely gray and his eyes bulging madly, stared at the gun he clutched with both hands. "Damn it, Nis, I swear it wasn't me," he hissed. "It was like something pushed me. Oh God, Nis, no!" He swiftly raised the gun, put it to his head, and fired. Horrified, Nissen watched the body fall to the floor. His head rumbled, his mouth tasted strange, and the rainbows flew in his eyes. But he saw a cloud of gray dust rise over Adderston's corpse. He wanted to rush to his friend, but the body refused to obey. Like a spectator in a virtual movie, Nissen watched with detachment as his body returned to the console, setting the ship's jump coordinates to a completely unknown point in space. He could not move a finger. Something had completely taken control of his body, disregarding the will of the former master, who had become a passive observer. The dust swirled over the terminal as his fingers typed the commands. The dust! Suddenly, Nissen understood everything. It was now clear to him what a mistake all Qatar explorers had made, wondering why the artifacts and ruins seemed to have been built for entirely different races, or why no traces of Qatar writing had ever been found. They did not need it, just like the Qatar-specific ships and cities. They could simply use what their slaves created. Such a small mistake. Nissen and Adderston didn't bother to disinfect the spacesuits. What could survive in a million-year-old ship? Only what this ship was built to preserve. Gray dust. The Qatars outsmarted everyone. Pretty damn smart for viruses.